You're listening to Crossing the Axis, the podcast that explores the commercial side of film production. With your host, James Keblas.
Welcome, listeners, and thank you for tuning in to the show. If you've heard me before, you know I have a type when it comes to production companies. The more specialized, the better. I believe working in a focused market enables a company to stand out from the competition, develop deep expertise, produce higher quality work, and create stronger, longer lasting relationships with clients. That's why I recently enjoyed learning about Diamond View, a production company with a focus on sports marketing based out of Tampa, Florida. Over the years, I've known a few production companies and agencies that specialize in sports, and I've been on the production side of a couple professional sports campaigns. But I've never really pulled back the curtain on the business development side of pursuing sports marketing as a niche. I certainly know the allure of having sports clients is strong for company owners because the campaigns often carry so much emotion and energy, and it seems relatively easy to create effective work since the target audience is so visible. It's the fans. Plus, it looks like there's a lot of money in it. But I have a feeling these assumptions might be off a bit and that it's harder than it looks. That's why I'm looking forward to today's conversation with my guest, Anthony Santa, who leads sports and entertainment business development at Diamond View. Anthony has put together some impressive sports campaigns over his 10-year career with the company and has generously agreed to share some of the X's and O's of his BizDev playbook. I'm hoping his insights will be useful for production company owners who think they may have something valuable to offer in the sports marketing space. So, Anthony, welcome to the show.
James, I'm excited to be here. As that intro track kicked off, I'm someone that grew up in the 90s, and that song gave me the hype vibes of Space Jam. And if you remember the Space Jam intro, I still don't know a film that kicks off as hype as that movie kicks off. So if this is anything like that intro, I think this is going to be a good show.
Oh, wow. You're gassing me up now, man. I appreciate it. To be put in that company is really good. And I love that intro. It was made by a producer for me, Nick Patry, and he did such a good job with it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's it. So thank you for saying that.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. Well, I'm excited to be here, James, and hopefully, the audience can take a few things from me.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this conversation because I actually don't know that much. This is a bit of a learning experience for me too. And I think it's fascinating what you do and what you do over at Diamond View. And I have a bunch of questions for you, but I guess my first question is, what team or sports do you think have the best fan base?
Ooh, well, my biased answer is Major League Baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I got a chance to play collegiate baseball. And our first entry into professional sports was with the baseball team, specifically the Atlanta Braves. And so Braves country has been very good to us. So I got to tee it up to them and say that the Atlanta Braves fan base is my favorite so far.
Well, that's a perfect segue to find out how you got into this business. How does one person like you find themselves in the business development of sports marketing? And you've been at Diamond View for a while, right?
Yeah, so I've been blessed to be at Diamond View for 10 years now. As I mentioned, I played baseball in college, and of course, being in business development for a video production company, my degree was criminal justice. I got a chance. I graduated with a criminal justice degree, and it's a cool childhood story. The founder of Diamond View, Tim Moore, and I were middle school and high school friends. We grew up in the church together and started out making promo videos for the youth group, and so that ended up turning into a business for Tim after he graduated, and we stayed connected all through college. A year after I graduated, he had reached out to me and said, hey, would you have any interest in bringing some opportunities over to Diamond View, my video production company? I said, sure, yeah, let's give it a go. And so, of course, that first year turned out very successful, and I sold 0 contracts. I brought in 0 work, and so Tim stayed patient with me. But that first year was crucial. It was awesome for me to be able to learn and immerse myself in every step of video production, from pre-production to on-location production, and then post-production as well. So I was crafty one day, I was a PA the next, I was a gaffer the next day, and I was holding the camera the next after that. So I got to immerse myself in the production realm during that first year. And then year 2 hit around, and all of a sudden, some of the people I was reaching out to started calling me back. landed a few gigs in that year too. And then, each stepping stone along the way, you start to gain confidence and more industry knowledge. And so it's been a catalyst for us. And so my journey of 10 years definitely starts with a very humble year one and year two.
Well, good on you for admitting that. I think more of us could learn from that. When you were working in that first year and you joined Tim, were you focused on sports then, or did that come about because your interest, your experience, and your just kind of knowledge of the business moved you in that direction more organically, or was it really intentional?
Yeah, when I first joined, I was looking for anything and everything that was a video project. And so I didn't start to get into the niche of sports until probably about 2017, which is our entry into the sports realm with the Atlanta Braves. But, as I was talking to prospective clients and business owners, and I started to find myself in conversations where it became easier to talk through day-to-day and video project opportunities when I was talking sports versus healthcare. And so I soon realized after that first project with the Atlanta Braves that this is kind of the realm I think we need to be in. Kind of took it from there and just ran with it. And again, going back to that first project opportunity with the Atlanta Braves, it kind of fell into our lap and ended up being an 8-year relationship that we're still working with them on each year. So I think after that first project with the Atlanta Braves, it started to kind of grow into, this is the niche and the realm that we want to live in.
Describe Diamond View. Like, what size company is it? How much of the business is particularly for the sports market? And are your clients mostly direct to brands, mostly direct to the teams in the sports, or do you go through agencies quite a bit? Paint the picture on that.
I'd say about 50 to 60% of our work is in the sports realm. We still work with a lot of brands direct and ad agencies as well, which I think is a benefit for us because we're not just dialed into sports and that's all we eat, sleep, and breathe. And so that's kind of how our portfolio has kind of unfolded over the years. And as far as the makeup of Diamond View, we've got a few different departments that work internally here. We've got a creative department that's led by Will Shanahan, and he oversees 3 different directors. We've got our executive producer, Susan Mulvey, who oversees our producers. She's got 3 producers in-house here as well. And then we also have a project manager and a pretty involved post-production team with about 5 editors here on staff. And so oftentimes we take projects from concept through completion so we can collaborate on that creative and the ideas, and then we roll into production and then do the post-production as well. So we can handle projects from start to finish. And so a lot of the key team members that will work on our video campaigns are going to be there from the start all the way through the finish. And then when we're on location for the actual productions, we'll supplement separate roles, hair and makeup, audio, things like that aren't necessarily team leads. And so that's kind of the makeup of our team. We're based in Tampa, Florida, but we travel all across the country creating all types of video campaigns. So that's the makeup of our team.
So you get quite a bit involved in the strategy and the creative development then for these campaigns, right? I mean, you take that on and you kind of find the right messaging, you do the strategic work, you think about ROI and all of that kind of stuff. Is that a comfort zone for the company?
Yeah, definitely. I think just being in this industry for 10 years, you start to kind of find the similar patterns. And there's a lot of really good video production companies out there that, and we all have access to the same equipment, same gear, same cameras. At the end of the day, it's going to be what's creative, what's the concepting, what's the ideation, is your creative going to resonate with the different brands, sports teams, and things like that. So we try to hone in on that area as kind of our selling point. And at the end of the day, brands and sports teams and leagues, they want to work with people that help them, brainstorm ideas and have that collaborative ideation from concept into completion. And so that's an area that we really hone in on.
So I'm curious, your experience working in a variety of pursuit of clients to kind of targeting this sports market. Is there a different marketing and sales set of skills that you use for sports than you would for some other vertical or some other kind of focused area?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sports is so fast paced. You have to showcase that you can move quickly. Yesterday's news is old, outdated information. Players get hurt, players get signed, teams are winning and losing on and off the field. And so you have to be able to move as quickly as they can. So I think showcasing those capabilities for us, a big benefit is that we have a lot of those team leads on staff here, and we all work out of the office. And so I could take a quick walk to one of our directors or producers or editors and have that conversation in person. And so in a time when so much is done via Zoom or video conference calls, sometimes that in-person touch base is pretty crucial, especially in the communication part of bringing projects from concept into completion. And so, but in regards to sports too, it's like, you're trying to stay sticky. People move, contacts change. And so you have to be aligned with not only the individual that you're working with, but the entire brand and organization. It's just, it's a different world out there, but it's one that we were able to expedite our growth into it because after the first year we got a chance to work with the Atlanta Braves. They actually brought us on, and we had a satellite location out in Atlanta, and we had two Diamond View team members there full time working day-to-day operations. And so, there's one thing to kind of learn off of experience and ask people, what is it like to work day-to-day operations for sports teams, is another thing to kind of live it out and play it out. And so that helped us gain a lot of industry knowledge of what it's like to be with an actual sports team and run day-to-day operations. And, we were firing off videos daily while also brainstorming future video projects. And, you're working through a season that has ups and downs, and then a playoff run and stuff. So that was super informative for us. We were doing weekly touch bases. We were talking to them pretty much daily. And so I think that helped expedite our growth in learning how to build and maintain relationship in the sports industry.
Yeah, well, I'm so curious. I have this thing that I do with your ICP, your ideal client profile, right? Like, who's the target that you're going after when you're trying to drum up business and sell your service? I'm so curious, who is that primarily for you and what you're trying to do when you're going after business? Is it the CMO for the team? Is it a creative person? Is it a producer? Like, who's the one that when you say, hey, we have something that I think is a little bit different, you might want to have a conversation. Who's the one that really who that resonates with?
Sure. Yeah, that's a combination of all three that you already noted. Each team, each league, their internal capabilities is built up a little bit different. And so once you kind of immerse yourself in the makeup of that team or organization, I think you can kind of start to understand who is the primary decision maker. But it is a combination. It is the CMO. There's creative directors, art directors, and a lot of times it's very collaborative within a sports organization. So you got you're pitching to 3, 4, 5 different team members. And you're aiming to resonate with all three. And so, yeah, I would say those are the kind of the main three: CMO, creative director, and art director.
And there's no like project managers, producers, or the kids of players or something like that approach that you kind of you try to get in on.
No. I think thinking through, I would say those are the main ones that we've come across.
What do you say when you're pitching Diamond View? How do you like say you got a cold lead or a warm lead, but someone that doesn't know you, and you're trying and you think you have something to offer? What's the positioning of Diamond View and what you think that you have that separates you from the rest?
For us, it's like how are we connected to their brand? I think a lot of times we ask a lot of the right questions, but at the end of the day, it's like a lot of these decision makers and sports teams. Team members, they're looking to work with people that are going to help elevate their creative or their idea, but also understand and believe in their message. And so a lot of times we'll internally with our creative team, we'll start thinking through like how is Diamond View connected to their brand. One good example is we got a chance to work with NASCAR on their 75th anniversary, and we're pitching this idea called the Photo Finish Series, and NASCAR is celebrating 75 years of racing. And so this is a pivotal moment for them and their fan base as they continue to grow and stay relevant. And so the goal of this series was to retell 4 impactful stories that have happened through those 75 years of NASCAR racing. And so how are you going to tell a story that's been told so many times by the same drivers, and the fans have all heard it? And so our director, Jason Blanc, and his father shared the memory and experiences of fandom for NASCAR as a kid. And so, that was something within them that an element to their relationship as father and son of building those memories. And so we went ahead, and this is ahead of the pitch. We went ahead and brought in his dad, and all of a sudden we're in this studio and we're talking through this experience. And so Jason, is talking to his father and asking him all these questions about this specific race. And here's a moment about father and son connected to a brand that we're pitching to, and it's a really cool opportunity that we were able to take advantage of. And so we created that proof of concept and went ahead and played it to them during the pitch. And I think, within 1 minute of watching, its decision making's a very emotional one. And so as much as we want our videos to create emotion for the fans, it's part of the pitch too. And so we were able to connect NASCAR with Diamond View, specifically on that pitch. And Jason Blanc was a key mover in that opportunity. He ended up directing the entire piece, but yeah, I think that went a long way. We ended up securing the contract, and we produced 4 of those photo finish videos. And so going back to the start of your question, James, it's like, what are you going to provide that's a little bit different than what everyone else is pitching? And so we try to think things of like, how are you connected to the brand, and really with an end goal of trying to build trust as soon as possible. From the business development side, you start to see the patterns of wins and losses, and you kind of try to teach yourself like, hey, don't get too high, don't get too low, just stay even keel. And as I've gotten older and started to really understand my role within the company, it's not even so much how many project opportunities I bring on that get signed off. It's a lot of times how many opportunities do we get to pitch ourselves in front of these potential brands and sports teams. And because maybe it's not a good fit today, but down the road, a year later, we end up back at the table, and that one was the right pitch and the right opportunity for us. So, but for us, it's too, it's like pitching creative. Now with AI, there's a lot of AI generated creative decks. Now that everyone's copped to speed on it, now everyone's presenting mid-journey AI generated creative decks, and it's like, what are you going to make that's custom, that's going to allow these sports teams and decision makers to really feel your concept? And so a lot of times we're trying to build some sort of custom animation or rip-o-matic or some sort of proof of concept to help them kind of feel what we're presenting. Look, at the end of the day, sports moves very fast, and if you could fill a need as soon as possible, that's going to always help your chances. And when we first started like knocking on doors with sports teams, it was like our pitch was, hey, give us the most undesirable project you have, and undesirable in the sense of the smallest budget and the tightest turnaround. And so we knew the power of getting into the door with someone with these quote unquote undesirable projects would be able to play the long game and showcase our capabilities, but also get in the door with these teams. And so we're saying, hey, you got no budget, no problem. You need this turned around in a week, no problem. We're here to work with you. So I say that's like been the main journey for Diamond View as far as getting immersed in the sports realm and really coming to the table with these pitch opportunities.
I'm so glad that you brought up the NASCAR story, because I looked at all your work and kind of studied it and tried to understand your point of view. When I saw those NASCAR videos, I cried. I'm straight up. And I've been to a NASCAR race, kind of boring to me in some ways. I was in, man. Listeners have to go to Diamond View and check out the NASCAR stories. They're so well done, so beautiful, so simple, yet so powerful. Just really a good job on that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it strikes me to be one of those great case studies that you have. Did that come about from an RFP? Or was that you looking at it and soliciting an idea, to them? How did that first come about?
Yeah, so for that specific one, NASCAR reached out about doing this testimonial series for NASCAR 75. And so we kind of took that and ran with it. We got into virtual production during COVID, which is a separate story that perhaps I could share later on this episode. But yeah, so we knew what resources we have, and we have studios in Tampa, Orlando, Nashville, and Las Vegas. And so we knew where the drivers were located at. And so we kind of reverse engineered it. And a lot of times with these pro athletes and superstar talent, A-level talent, you got to go to them. And so for us, again, we presented a solution that was over where they were located at. And yeah, like here's the thing is going back to that project, everyone's seen the races that we're talking about. Everyone's seen the images. Everyone's seen the drivers. But when these drivers came into this LED studio and got to see the images projected on such a grand scale, they couldn't help but get emotional. And so that was the moment that we needed, because it's like, how are you going to create this moment for the drivers that are signed up for this to retell the story that they've probably told a million times? And so we knew we had to project these images in a unique way. And that's kind of how we came up with the title for the series, Photo Finish. And we just honed in on that one moment that has a story that just unfolds with so much emotion and so many good memories for the fans.
You can hear it. I can't remember which driver it was, but one of the drivers was retelling the story and his voice is cracking and he's really, you could tell he's just full of emotion. And I'm like, God, this guy's told the story a gazillion times probably. And yet here he is really choked up telling the story. It was very cool. So well done on that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the virtual production, because I do think that you guys have made an investment into something that is extraordinary. And one of the things that I really appreciate about your company when I learned more about it was your willingness to show how the sausage is made. You have a great kind of behind the scenes case study on what you did with the WWE, and you show all of the virtual production and the spots all together. And it really demonstrates what you're using with that wall. Is something that you always knew? Was it a result of COVID and then you realized you had something great and you could sell it? Is that a big part of how you sell it now?
Yeah. So, COVID impacted a lot of people in different ways. And so for us at the time, we were out at spring training creating a 5-part Behind the Braves docuseries. And so we never got to episode 5. We got through 4. Then the 5th one was when COVID kind of sent us home. And so we got home, and obviously there's a lot of uncertainty and trying times for a lot of people. And at that moment, we were all sitting at our house trying to figure out the next step, because all of our contracts were on pause, and all the sports teams were trying to figure out like what's the next play. And so we're sitting there, and of course, Star Wars Mandalorian, it was on and it was thriving. And so we saw the technology and we saw virtual production. And we're like, wow, like I wonder, what is that the future of production? And so really, Tim Moore, the founder of Diamond View and View Studios, took a calculated risk, and we all had a meeting of the powers and trying to figure out like what is the next step for Diamond View? Because right now we're on pause and we've got 20 plus team members to figure out work to do. And so we took a calculated risk. There's a mall about 5 minutes down the road from us. And we brought in some panels. We gutted out an old Dillard store, and this 40,000 square footprint. And so we ended up putting 100 by 20 LED volume, and had no idea what we were doing. We had never shot virtual production. We had never explored into virtual production. We had done a form of virtual production through a rear projector. That was pretty much the experience that we had up to that point. And so Florida was wide open at the time. New York, LA are all looking for a place to shoot. So they flew into Tampa, Florida, and it expedited our growth. And so we found a niche into virtual production, and then we were just all hands on deck. And at that moment, we knew that Diamond View and View had separate clientele. And so we separated the companies, and View Studios kind of went off and running. And at the same time, Diamond View, which we shoot both virtual production and traditional on-location content, we were shooting a ton of virtual production work. And so at that time, the WWE, WrestleMania was in town in Tampa, and we're currently working with the New York Giants on a 100-year campaign series. And so one of our contacts out there who runs all the production for the Giants, Don Sterling, he said sometimes it's better to be lucky than be good. and so I look back, and it's cool to kind of revisit this story. But we were right place, right time. WWE WrestleMania was in Tampa. So sure enough, we had all the WWE executives over at our studio checking out what virtual production was and how to get their superstar talent inside this space. And so we ended up shooting a 2-day for sports teams would call like a media day marketing car wash. And for them, it was a superstar ID shoot. And so we had 3 different unique sets and got to highlight each of their superstars. And so that was a really successful shoot. And then the next year, they reached out and were thinking about us. And the next year, they had WrestleMania out in LA. And so they wanted to highlight 6 Hollywood films. And so we kind of titled this project the WWE Hollywood Vignette Series. And so we were able to recreate scenes from The Joker, Top Gun, Stranger Things, Titanic, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Goodfellas. And so, and we were able to do it across 2 days of production. And look, here was going back to speed and timing. When they approached us, they needed to get the first spot out in a 3-week time frame. So when we got the green light, it was 3 weeks before we were set to begin shooting. And so with virtual production, it's very heavy into the backgrounds through Unreal Engine and creating those environments, which is a pretty streamlined process. But what's a little bit more involved is the art and the props that have to support those environments to make it very immersive and make it feel very authentic and very photorealistic. And so, virtual production is a really good use for this particular project because we can't fly these superstars all to these different locations. We had to bring it to them. And so we shot that in the Orlando studio. Everything is captured in camera, so there's no longer any make-believe. So the superstars were out there. They felt immersed in the environment, and we were approving things in real time, and we were able to get the first vignette out 2 days after production.
That's impressive. You made a considerable investment in this kind of BTS approach, and I'm assuming that's part of a sales strategy, right? To like show off a little bit of what you're capable of, and you do it well, by the way. Was that an idea that you had before, and you're like, hey, let's turn this into something that we can use for attracting more clients and make the investment in that? And is it something that you use to attract more clients?
Yeah, I think it works in twofold. First, we want to identify us as a video production partner that can handle projects of this scale from concept through completion. And then the second part to this is really explaining virtual production. A lot of people are interested in it. We feel it's the future of production, and it's currently a big use for production. And so we found this as a project opportunity to really highlight the entire workflow and how streamlined it can be, even during the chaoticness of a 3-week window. Each year, I try to identify one project that we feel like is that one project that really stands out. And so we knew with this WWE Hollywood Vignette Series, it was going to be very unpredictable, very uncertain. It was going to be fast paced. And so we knew we had something special here that we needed to highlight. And we didn't know where the case study was going to go, but we knew we just had to start hitting record. And oftentimes that's always the best stories, is the ones that are a bit unpredictable. And so we started that process right from the get-go, right when we got the green light. And so we made a pretty involved effort after the fact, just to make sure that we're telling this case study in the appropriate way from the client side, but also from our side as well, in our collaboration between Diamond View and View Studios.
Well, I appreciate it. For any listeners that are curious about this, I highly recommend you go check out in their work section on the website, because you show off some real pro tips. You show, how practical and virtual work together. You show some real, I think, important lessons in doing this type of production and how it can benefit, how it can fail. So I really appreciate that kind of, transparency in how you're operating. That's really good. When you're sending this to clients, have you done, hey, we're going to come up to you? Do you go to visit clients quite a bit and do like a road show where you're kind of showing off work? What's the best way to get the eyeballs to check this stuff out?
There's different approaches as far as acquiring potential partners. And for me, it's always persistence, but also patience. Sometimes you connect with someone and you end up not doing a project for them until 6 months, 12 months, even 5 years down the road. And so you just never know when that opportunity calls. And so for us, it's providing very specific content that I think will resonate with them. And so anybody who I've had some sort of conversation with specific towards virtual production, it was a good chance that I was going to send them our case study. And, this case study is a little bit longer. So the people who are watching this from start to finish have to have a little buy-in in virtual production and have some interest. And at the end of the day, that's kind of who we're interested in working with, are the people that are taking virtual production seriously and want to take that next step. And for us too, we're not just tied into virtual production. We're always looking for what's going to be best for the end product. And so sometimes virtual production from a tech standpoint is an intro to a contact or to an organization. And then we end up doing some project that has nothing to do with virtual production. And so building those relationships is pretty crucial for us, especially when you're at the pitch at the table. You got a seat at the table with 4 other vendors. It's like, how are you going to stand out? And for us, each opportunity is a little bit different, but in a time where there's so much business that's done through video calls, sometimes it takes that extra step of flying in and meeting people in person and doing that pitch in person, because you can kind of get a vibe for their presence or their interest or their energy. And so we feel like that'll stand out for us. So any chance we get, we try to make pitches in person. Yeah, it's unique to each opportunity, but it is one that we hold as allowing our creative team to be a part of that process. And it's not just me. I like to say I bring people to the door, and then our entire creative team and our process, from the directors to producers to editors, close the deal. And again, for us, it's a partnership. And so we try to continue to pitch ideas for our partners that they perhaps may not have even thought of. And so we want to be thought of as a form of an idea factory, but always pitching and presenting ideas that could continue to be projects that we work with down the line. And so we're not just kind of waiting at the door for the next project opportunity. We're pitching ideas that perhaps that team or organization hasn't thought of.
Are there any other pieces of advice you would give for someone trying to enter the market with their company, or any other trends that you would think somebody needs to be paying attention to in sports?
Yeah, for us, before we started working with sports, it's like you got to build your portfolio. And so oftentimes we were creating spec work with local universities, and we used to joke around here because I was always the one, the stand-in. And so I was always wearing the football pads and wearing the baseball jersey and wearing the basketball jersey. And so thankfully we phased out of that part of spec work. But, I think that's a big entry into sports is having a portfolio that can qualify you right from the start. And then, like you mentioned, it's small budget, tight turnaround, and getting in the door, and then immersing yourself in that environment. For us, it was spending that full season with the Atlanta Braves that kind of expedited our growth. But we try to put ourselves in as much of a circumstance to be as lucky as possible. And so, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's always niches that you can get into. For us, virtual production scaled us rapidly. And so we didn't plan for it. COVID happened, and we made a decision to move in this direction. And so it worked out for us. And so, it's always the next technology that comes through the door and how you're going to implement it. And now with AI and Apple Vision Pro and wearables, it's like spatial entertainment is big, augmented reality and stadium experience is huge. And so, you have to evolve with the technology. And if you could find a niche and bring something to the table that sports teams are interested in getting into or don't know enough about, you could be that expert in that field. So, yeah, I would say lean on that.
It strikes me that everything in society, for the most part, is copycat, right? We see someone who win, everybody wants to be part of that. But I think it's especially true in sports, certainly in sports teams and coaching and playing and all that kind of stuff. But I think it even comes across in the external marketing and communications as well. So it strikes me to figure out, like, how do you stand apart? How do you become the thing that other teams and other franchises copy versus copying what everyone else is doing? Seems to me to be a good way to go too.
Definitely. Yeah, you want to be at the start of the domino. It's an industry that you're always looking left and right. And so for us, a lot of what we try to do is utilize work that's, music videos or films, and not just stay in the lane of sports, of what other sports teams are doing. And so, yeah, we're always trying to stay ahead of that. So we oftentimes are researching or checking out content that we've seen out there that's just not in the sports realm, that hopefully we can implement into the sports realm, and really with a goal of starting that domino effect of when you see other teams doing content, capturing content in a way that you captured it. It's a pretty cool feeling.
What about getting into the return of investment of a campaign? I know oftentimes these are more like anthem style and the kind of broad, and perhaps the ultimate goal for these campaigns is just to have butts in seats, right? To people to go see things and buy tickets or to watch them. Are there other things, though, that I'm not aware of that you can lean into to say, hey, if we do a campaign this way, you can expect some kind of results that will be meaningful for the team, for the company, for everything. Do you guys ever get into that level of business strategy?
Yeah, I think the initial answer is going to oftentimes be the ticket sales, the merch revenues, sponsorships. But we got a chance to work with the Atlanta Braves on a jersey patch video, pitch video. And so, that's a unique opportunity to have a brand own a part of a jersey. And so what we went ahead and did is we created this pitch video to present to other companies. And, that's immediate opportunity there for the Atlanta Braves. And Quickrate was able to land that one. And so, again, it's going back to the emotional decision making of the buyer. And so the Atlanta Braves found that of a high value to create a unique pitch video that would only go to these sales opportunities. And so it's one that is held very highly, and one that we thought, like, what an immediate impact. Like, whoever lands this patch is going to be able to see our video and hopefully be a part of the recipe of allowing them that emotional impact to make that decision and to own the rights of the jersey patch. So I think partnerships is always going to be a big one, brand partnerships. And then also it's like, what are the fans saying? So we're trying to build fan trust, brand reliability, and yeah, at the end of the day, we want our clients to be the heroes, and our other teams looking at the teams that we're working with as inspo. Are they sending links of our collaborations together around the league? And so can't really calculate that, but it is one that we enjoy hearing about whenever we get wind of that. But also, one unspoken thing is, but it's held at such a high standard, and it should be, is how do we treat their players? That player relationship is so crucial in building trust between the marketing department and all these player requests that they get. And so we're a part of that formula. And so when players leave our set, there's a vibe, there's a heightenedness to it, or a vibe just being out there with us, that we want these players to leave excited or happy about that process. And so if you could continue to hone in and make these players pretty excited, whatever type of campaign you're making, whether it's a fan anthem or if it's just a media day project or an intro video, whenever we're in set with the players, we want them to feel really, really good about what they're doing. And so oftentimes, that allows the marketing department to continue to build that relationship with the players who play on the field. And so I think that's kind of one area that not a lot of people talk about, but we hold our set culture and our set etiquette to a pretty high standard.
This has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you for being so transparent about how you do business development. It's refreshing to have someone kind of open the book and explain their process and how they're bringing clients. You're clearly having success, and I appreciate you sharing that. Any final words of advice for production companies that are hearing this and thinking they have something to offer?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think just trust the process, be patient, but also be persistent. Oftentimes, what you thought was a loss ends up being a win down the road. And I look back at some project opportunities that we didn't land early on in our growth, and I'm actually glad we didn't, because we weren't ready for that at that time. And so now I think we're rolling, and we've got a really solid process and a really solid team. As business development account person, it's like, just don't look at the macro too much. Don't look at the wins and losses that are right in front of you. Oftentimes those are made by people that make decisions that you don't have control over, and then just continue to stay the course and hope for the best in the future. So
yeah, well, thank you so much, Anthony Santa. I appreciate the conversation.
James, thanks for the opportunity. I'm really excited to be able to chat with you.
Thank you for listening to Crossing the Axis with James Keblas. If you're interested in joining the conversation or have a topic you'd like covered, please drop a note at keblas.com. That's KEBLAS.com.